Joy Reid has a melt. It's fine for her to have blonde hair. It's hilarious. It's like people saying cornrows are blacks. It's cultural appropriation. White people have been braiding their hair since white people existed. Same thing with black people. It's just all mental illness.
Oh, well, why does she have white hair? Blonde. Yeah, not allowed to do that. That's cultural appropriation of the one pure Aryan race.
It is as close for Donald Trump to being a 99 county sweep of the state as you can get without actually getting a 99 county sweep. And what I mean is, look at the one county that is not Trump's shade of red on here. It's Johnson County, where Iowa City and the...
Oh, man. Have you ever seen a more televised or intense second place battle than the Republican primary? Like, all of it is just nonsense. It has absolutely no bearing on reality. None of these motherfuckers could ever have even had a hope. They were never going to be... There's not a chance they could have even come close. Mathematically an impossibility. And yet, the amount of time, money, millions and millions of dollars went into all these motherfuckers' campaigns for nothing. Every single dollar you spent on Ron DeSantis went to absolutely nothing. He is in a worse standing as a politician than he was prior to his campaign. He was actually quite liked. He was a very popular governor of a red state that he was proudly turning red. And then no one really saw him for the weirdo he was until he ran for president. And as we all knew, Trump fucking demolished him, just destroyed him. It was never a fair fight, to be clear.
University of Iowa are, and look at the result here. Donald Trump lost it to Nikki Haley by a single vote. So Donald Trump literally came one single vote away from going 99 for 99 in Iowa last night here. Just in terms of why DeSantis was able to edge out Haley for second place. Look, compared to Trump, it's not really a stronger breakout showing for...
But what's the chances for a third party in the U.S.? I'm starting to come to a very weird conclusion. Hear me out, all right? I've already been canceled for this, but I need to get a read. And if I can get a read in real time. Have you all seen the clip of Vice President Kamala Harris absolutely lit, where she's talking about falling from coconut trees and other shit like that? Have you all seen that? She seems pleasant in that clip, rather than I like to incarcerate large populations of demographics, let's say, which is what I know her of before. She seemed more pleasant. So maybe, just maybe, the third option none of us even thought about is a perpetually brunched out Kamala Harris. She, by legislation, because this will be necessary, she won't be allowed to be less than 2 Chardonnays, okay, maybe 1 or 2 mimosas prior to being able to perform her duties as president of the United States. But I would actually, at this point, that's how bad things have gotten, is what I'm saying. I mean, yeah, Butcher Biden is not looking great. That's not just me saying this. Again, some fool on the internet. But also just in polling data, he's dramatically unpopular. Incredibly. Just if at this point, it honestly seems like Democrats are more interested in supporting a far-right regime in Israel than they are preventing a far-right regime coming to power in the United States. And a lot of people on the internet can get mad at, say, the left, the Bernie bros, the progressives. That's not what's going to lose you this election if you continue down this course, right? It's very, very clear. You can see how his support, especially in key swing states where he needs Muslim and Arab voters, and especially other demographics, like there are states, other key swing states beyond Michigan, for example, where he does need younger voters and people of color to once again show up for the President Biden. But no one wants him anymore because he's disgusting, right? He's got so much blood on his hands that everyone's like, "You, I can't do that. Not going for Butcher Biden." So then what? Well, what's going to happen?
Joe Biden. The panic has set in on the Democratic side of the aisle, like full-scale panic. And this, by the way, is also an ally of Trump. Because the more you keep telling us that Trump is Mussolini, that he's Hitler, that the world's going to end if he's elected president, the more everybody looks at you like you're crazy, because you are. Here is the thing. no matter what you think of Donald Trump, the notion that Donald Trump is in the same league as Stalin, Hitler, Mussolini is an absurdity. He was already president once. And you know what happened? Some tax cuts, some Supreme Court appointments, pretty good foreign policy, a good economy, some bad governance during COVID. And then...
So I'm going to put out and say yes. Hitler, Mussolini, worse than Donald Trump. True. But those were also fascist dictators who had authoritarian power. Donald Trump did not have authoritarian power. Now, you could say that he was trying to assume a stolen election and encourage a coup. I'd agree with that, absolutely. And hoping that he could just keep power and maintain it. And now that he's had a taste, he wants more. Because, yeah, Donald Trump was one of those kind of people who was like, oh, I'm going to run for president so I can basically get a whole bunch of free press. And then, no, I'm president. Well, what's that mean? Oh, I get to see behind the curtain, see what goes on. And I get to take a whole bunch of these secrets back with me. No, we can't take them with you, sir. Yeah, definitely don't stack them around the toilet or anything like that. I mean, where anyone could see them. But you get, yeah, if you want to learn about them, here's the secrets of the world, and so far as the United States knows them.
He said a bunch of dumb stuff between November 4th and January 6th, and a few hundred people walked into the Capitol building, some of whom were rioting, some of whom just walked in, and then within 3 hours they were cleared, and then he wasn't president anymore. That's the story. Does that sound like Mussolini or Hitler to you? Was that the March on Rome?
Yeah, so the idea being is that no one really wants another Mussolini or Hitler, though. That they were such bad examples of what, humanity and, the late stages of capitalism can get to, this far-right authoritarian fascism and eliminationist projects. Yeah, so those are really bad. We shan't repeat them. We shouldn't do them. We should do anything in our power to be able to prevent that from ever happening again, is kind of the idea.
Was it Hitler's Reichstag fire? Like, what exactly, where is the comp? I need the comp in order to really understand the claim that you are making.
Kampf, of course, German for struggle, and then Mein Kampf being Hitler's struggle, and yeah, that included a lot of things, amongst them of his hatred of Jewish people for sure, but also losing World War I and him being a soldier in World War I. He wrote extensively of how he thought that a lot of corrupt bureaucracy was directly responsible for a lot of what had taken place, and as well as the loss of Germanic glory and culture that fell at the hands of the cultural Marxists.
By the way, a point that I've been making recently to some of my Democratic friends who are saying that, well, if Donald Trump were to win, it would end democracy. There would be no more elections. Quick point for you. Point of order. Donald Trump will have served 2 terms at that point. He will no longer be eligible for president. He will not be allowed to be on ballots across the United States.
Wait, is your argument just like, just get it over with? It's a Band-Aid. It's the Band-Aid argument, Yeah, in this case, it's a Band-Aid. But yeah, just, hey, after 4 years, you just get 4 more years of Trump, and then it's done. Problem solved.
So actually, if you want Donald Trump not to screw with the elections anymore, and you think he's really going to screw with the elections, you ought to vote for Donald Trump, and then he'll be in for another term, and then he'll be done. And then he'll go around talking about how he won 3 terms as president and all the rest of it. In any case, Rachel Maddow is leading it off. They're turning it up to Spinal Tap.
Okay, here's a bit more of a contemporary example. Take a country like Israel, which has a far-right government led by Benjamin Netanyahu, who himself is incredibly corrupt and has, a litany of things that I'm sure he would not like to be held accountable for. They had been stating and saying for a very long time, given enough of a justification that they would like to see in some form or another, some ethnic cleansing and or eliminationist projects occur to Palestinians who live in Gaza. After October 7th, when obviously there was a large amount of support and sympathy for Israel in order to have some form of a military response to the attack that occurred on October 7th, suddenly the worst possible things that any of us imagine could happen are happening before our very eyes. Lo and behold, the very people who have said, hey, we would like to eliminate these people from the face of the earth are trying to eliminate and starve these people from the face of the earth. It's happening in real time. They said they were going to do it, and they're doing it. This is something that, like, again, when, far-right authoritarian or fascist governments or, angry far-right regimes, such as what Donald Trump is proposing, Project 2025 and all this other stuff, they're laying the template out very clearly. They're saying, hey, once we have power, if we get power, this is what we're planning to do. Donald Trump, you can say that he's joking wink by, invoking a lot of the same language that was used by Adolf Hitler, which again isn't something that anyone should repeat and suddenly be like, well, yeah, they say that this came from Mein Kampf, they say that my language is fascistic, and that apparently this was the same things Hitler says, but when I say it, it's different. When I say it, it hits different. It hits different, all right? And yes, I will be a dictator, day 1, for 1 day only. Tee-hee, wink, for the lulz. the idea being is that, like, I think he's pretty much both demonstrated in his inability to accept an election result and then try to overturn an election by, again, improperly asking governors to change what the democratic process of the United States was, thereby upend democracy in the U.S., and then encourage his supporters and followers to try and overthrow the U.S. government by one means or another, and then still doing the tee-hee thing, right? Everyone's, like, got that plausible deniability aspect of it, right? Even the same people who, like, Rudy Giuliani, who can come into a microphone and be like, you know, we demand trial by blood combat and all that kind of stuff. And now it's kind of like, oh, I didn't literally mean people should kill each other in some kind of blood combat-esque sport. I meant like the Hunger Games, but metaphorically, I don't know, but just sort it out.
11, guys, here's the thing. When you keep turning the volume all the way up, everyone goes deaf. And you spent 9 years with the volume at Spinal Tap 11. No one has cochlea anymore. We can't hear you because you went nuts too many times, too often.
AKA the GOP don't care. They're fine. Fine with the whole system. Oh yeah, what is InfoWars going to say about all this?
He's going to probably talk about it a little more tonight, is that these are white Christians. That this is a state that is overrepresented by white Christians that are going to participate in these caucuses, yes. Especially tonight. Earlier today, reached out to Robbie Jones from the Public Religion Research Institute, knowing that we were going to talk about Iowa. And this is a hyper-evangelical white state. And he said the following to me: Iowa is about 61% white Christian. The country as a whole is approximately 41% white Christian. And in Iowa, we're talking about evangelical white Christians. And he said the following. Because I asked him, what do they get out of supporting Donald Trump? Because he keeps losing, he keeps delivering losses and losses and losses. And he said the following: they see themselves as the rightful inheritors of this country, and Trump has promised to give it back to them. All the things that we think about electability, about, you know, what are people gaming out, or none of that matters when you believe that God has given you this country, that it is yours, and that everyone who is not a white conservative Christian is a fraudulent American.
From him. We've already been talking a lot about that. All these former Secretary of Defense heads and CIA heads and all the usual suspects are saying Trump is going to censor you. Trump is going to surveil you. Trump is going to enslave you. Trump is going to persecute you. Trump's going to take you to war. Everything they're doing, total inversion. It's not projection, because they know.
Wait, hold on. So, according to The Independent, Donald Trump's closing message in Iowa before the first votes of the 2024 presidential election was a familiar one. He's convinced his supporters that his legal problems are their own and that he's the only one who can stop them, while stringing along a fake narrative that the 2020 election was stolen from them. As he targets a key Republican voting bloc of evangelical Christians, the former president is leaning into a fantasy among supporters and social media influencers, depicting him as something of a messianic figure, who was sent by God as a shepherd of mankind, who ends this week in the Oval Office by attending church on Sunday, according to one video shared by his campaign. This is Trump's own messaging. It seems like.
Gave us Trump. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, fix this country, work all day, fight the Marxists, eat supper, then go to the Oval Office and stay past midnight at a...
Wait, slow down. Fight the Marxists? With your dinner with Xi Jinping? This is you fighting them? This is... It's very basic diplomacy. Come on now.
The Marxists, eat supper, then go to the Oval Office and stay past midnight at a meeting of the heads of state. So God made Trump. I need somebody with arms, strong enough to rustle the deep state, and yet gentle enough to...
Does Trump not know that the rest of the world was laughing when he did this? This was like at a G7 convention where all of a sudden he had to be at the very front, just like so fucking Trump. Just like, hey, come on. No, everyone get behind me. Get behind me. I'm the tallest.
I need somebody with arms, strong enough to rustle the deep state, and yet gentle enough to deliver his own grandchild. Somebody to ruffle the feathers, tame cantankerous World Economic Forum, come home hungry, have to wait until the First Lady is done with lunch with friends, then tell the ladies to be sure and come back real soon, and mean it. So God gave...
What? This is all so fucked up. It's really weird, you know? It's got that like paternalistic shit. Fucking seems like something should be in a season of Fargo or something like that. And I like even the ending's kind of weird. The ending's kind of like, you know, it's not so much like, you know, go make me a sandwich. It's like, yeah, Yeah, you gotta dish some pretty hot goss. All right, get out of here, ladies. Now, Daddy needs a sandwich. Just you know, I'll let you talk for a wee bit because I'm a benevolent Trump. So that's super weird. So you know, we got layers and layers going down here. Alex Jones being like,
well, clearly Joyanne Reid is trying to suggest in some way, shape, or form that, you know, this is a war on white people. Well, she gets what she wants. This is a war on white people now. And white people are angry, and we're ready.
They're lying. Projections when you subconsciously thinking about yourself and push it off onto somebody else. Just maybe you're a thief.
and then if you do it in dreams, it's inception. And you can have those fun fight sequences where it feels like the whole room's rotating and you get to bounce around. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt's there because he's always in our dreams. He's dreamy.
Everybody else around you's a thief. You know, stuff like that. Or you hate yourself deep down, so you hate everybody else around you. Or you're nervous about your own life and losing control, so you try to control everybody else's life. You know, loser behavior. You don't control people, you lead people. But they never figure that out. So this is inversion when they consciously flip it on its head. But the biggest thing you got to come away with, and I looked these numbers up, Jack Pasovic's dead on. This is the official federal numbers that, and I've got them right here, out of Iowa. Trump spent 300.
I literally still do this. Yo, it's so lo-fi, right? Like every now and then it's like, yeah, so I don't put the tweets up on the screen. I printed them out. Just get me a camera that shows me old school printing out tweets. And up there, Jack Pacific. Man, you could cut to so many of Jack Pacific's tweets. If you didn't know this, Jack Pacific, by the way. Jack Pacific. Let's see. Okay, I got some tweets here. I don't have a printer, so you're gonna have to bear with me as we go through some of them. He's old school, like alt-right, you know, besties with Richard Spencer, kind of like neo-Nazi white supremacist types, which is why people are always like, you know, Lance, what's with everyone hanging out with Jack Pacific? He, unlike a lot of other his contemporaries, unlike Richard Spencer, right? He did pretty decent rebranding. Like, got to give him credit there, because at the end of the day, there was this huge thing where everyone was like, well, you know, maybe the idea of Lawrence Southern, the alt-right, all that kind of stuff, like, maybe it's not as good to just blatantly put out things like, pro tip, for every 14 days spent 88 hours outside the lease, it's amazing for your body and spirit. New York Times, page 1488, military leaders endorse Trump. Wait, that's an unusual series of numbers. The ADL would be wise to remember what happened the last time people made lists of undesirables. Okay, so you're calling for the extermination of the Jews there. Oh yeah, more of the 1488 tweets. 1488, Hillary equals diversity equals white genocide. Yeah, pretty striking there. Surround them. This is when they used to do that stuff at Peter Thiel press conferences. Yeah, all right. So Jack Pacific is just straight up like, you know, racist ass neo-Nazi, just so everyone knows.
$40 per vote in Iowa. DeSantis spent $1,697.96. And Nikki Haley spent $1,797.84.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk as well.
So,
I mean, Charlie Kirk's ramping up the fucking white
5,
supremacist
6,
shit
7,
too.
8 times more money. Who's got the grassroots support? Trump. All that money, and DeSantis came in a pathetic second, way behind Trump. Trump 51+% of the vote. Nikki Haley came in a distant third, but then she declared victory and said, it's now a two-person race. I won. And you're like, wow, that doesn't make sense. Well, you're not young enough to...
And you can see here, clearly, the whole thing represents a snowman.
To be the last 25 years where we have fuzzy math, where 2 plus...
Why did they cut to the actual tweet? Just so you know, cantankerous old crank Alex Jones. He's not just printing off nonsense. This is a real tweet, everybody.
2 can equal whatever you want it to equal. So these videos are all on Infowars.com. I've also reposted them on Real Alex Jones on X. Joy Reid has a melt. It's fine for her to have blonde hair. It's hilarious. It's like people saying cornrows are blacks. It's appropriation. white people have been braiding their hair since white people existed. Same thing with black people. It's just all mental illness. All right, my friends, let's dive.
What? It's just such a weird tangent to go on in the middle of everything else.
Yeah, well, why does she have white hair? Blonde. Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. That's cultural appropriation of the one pure Aryan race.
Into the home front and Trump's magnificent win in Iowa, 50+% of the vote against 4 other candidates. Vivek Ramaswamy wisely has ended.
You're still never going to learn his name. How far do we have? You've been on his podcast. He's been on your show now multiple times. You've done crossovers. You've met each other.
His campaign to join forces and support Trump. But of course, the operatives have not. The worst among them, of course, being Bird Brain.
I guess like it is slightly better than it was before. He used to call him what was it?
Vivek Ramaswamy. That was it. Ramaswamy. My good friend Ramaswamy is here.
And her merry band of neocon warmongers. So what did Joy Reid and Rachel Maddow and all of them do? They did this on CNN too, not just MSNBC. They came out and said the problem is the white people. Here it is.
But, you know, I feel like the important sort of data point, and you know, Steve talks about it a lot, he's going to probably talk about it a little more tonight, is that these are white Christians. That this is a state that is overrepresented by white Christians that are going to participate in these caucuses, yes. Especially tonight. Earlier today, reached out to Robbie Jones from the Public Religion Research Institute, knowing that we were going to talk about Iowa. And this is a hyper-evangelical white state. And he said the following to me: Iowa is about 61% white Christian. The country as a whole is approximately 41% white Christian. And in Iowa, we're talking about evangelical white Christians. And he said the following. Because I asked him, what do they get out of supporting Donald Trump? Because he keeps losing, he keeps delivering losses and losses and losses. And he said the following: they see themselves as the rightful inheritors of this country, and Trump has promised to give it back to them. All the things that we think about electability, about, you know, what are people gaming out, or none of that matters when you believe that God has given you this country, that it is yours, and that everyone who is not a white conservative Christian is a fraudulent American, is a less real American. Then you don't care about electability.
New Hampshire,
and I think to the point that you made, Steph, I mean, it's the elephant in the room. She's still a brown lady that's got to try to win in a party that is deeply anti-immigrant and which accepts the notion that you can say immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country. She's getting, you know, birthered by Donald Trump.
Again, I don't see what the controversy is here. Pointing out that, yes, it is true that the large percentage of the demographics of Iowa happen to be white and Christian in terms of polling data. They are overwhelmingly supporting Donald Trump. And what do poor white people get from Republicans? Shit all. Republicans don't like poor people. It doesn't matter if they're white, even if they happen to be white supremacists or wanting to uphold white supremacy, stuff like that. It, like, at the end of the day, if it's like, hey, I'm your savior, Donald Trump, here to save you all and to save the Christian nation. I'm very Christian, super Christian. Look at me. I have Bible. I can hold up Bible right side up. I love Bible. My favorite quote in Bible is Bible good. Yes, says the Bible, Corinthians, Bible 24. Like, yeah, the guy doesn't give two fucks about Christianity. He doesn't follow any of the tenets in either direction, by the way. He's like the very definition of a sinner. But like, what do you actually get? Like, what's the day-to-day? What's your material gains from having a Republican in office? If you're rich as fuck, you're probably going to be doing pretty good. You're probably going to be doing better if there's going to be massive corporate tax breaks for corporations, for example, so they pay less taxes. That's not going to apply to everybody. Not even going to apply to the small business owner or the mom and pop operation. But for the super rich and wealthy, yes, they're going to get a whole bunch of big old tax breaks. Does that disproportionately fall along racialized lines in America? Yes, it does, unfortunately. So there's going to be disproportionately more people who are white who are wealthy than there are people who are black who are wealthy. Doesn't mean if you're a poor white person that they have your interest at heart, even if they're selling that to you, though. They hate poor white people.
And I don't care how much the donor class likes her, which will ramp up a lot, the better she does in New Hampshire. So it's still a challenge. I don't see how she becomes the nominee of that party with Donald Trump still around. I can't picture it happening. Maybe it could happen. Ron DeSantis' only argument for staying in it is he's the white guy, that he can still make the appeal to white evangelicals.
While we have the big picture takeaway from that, and I don't mean to be, again, too dark, as you said, on this, but it is not. If we are worried about the rise of authoritarianism in this country, we are worried about potential rise of fascism in this country. If we're worried about our democracy falling.
Oh, fuck off, libs. Then stop supporting far-right regimes. Stop doing it. You can't do both. You can't condemn Donald Trump and point out, accurately, by the way, that yes, this could be the rise of fascism in America, and also be like, we're going to be supporting far-right authoritarianism abroad. We're going to be supporting genocidal projects abroad while we're also calling out Donald Trump domestically, because we're the good guys. Like, what the fuck? That's why, like, everyone's so fucking sick and tired of this shit.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Can you please hit the like and subscribe button and maybe leave a comment? It really does help the videos out. But first, the people who produce everything you see before you and make this entire channel possible: Amazing Fletch, Anna Loves Riley, Ariane McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Multimondi, Omni, Peanut Butter Blondie, Political Puppy, Quiet 185, Rachel K, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Ruby K, Cernicus, Spinach Monster, Stellar Vision, Sebastian DeMel, Trevbot.exe, Words Greenwood, and Travis McClinton. And also, thank you to every other person who helps fund this show. Their names are on the screen right now. It would not be possible without every single one of them. We cannot thank you enough. And if you want to join the Patreon, please come to patreon.com/theserfs and help us exist.